We are live. Thank you for coming to another Mixmill Arts Chats. We have here is the Woke Centrist, which is me, and we have Jenkins v. Jennings. But isn't that a pseudonym,
That's a
or is that your
pseudonym, yeah.
real name?
Well, actually, it's just Brian Jennings, but yeah.
So I'm glad that you're here today, especially because I know you have a bit way more expertise on the subject than I have. I think one of the main reasons I made this chat is just to kind of share tips and strategies and kind of define what media literacy actually is.
Right.
And I'd like you to explain your background in media literacy and what do you do with it?
Sure. So I actually used to, well, I still do. I produce media. I've worked in media, radio and television and film for over 20 years. I was a broadcast journalist, news photographer, and then after getting a little disillusioned with that, I decided to go into education. So I'm now a library media specialist, and always taught it because I understand how easy it is to manipulate media messages. So about probably 5 or 6 years back, I wanted to expand what I was doing, and I met up with one of the recognized leaders in it, Renee Hobbs. She's been at a few colleges. She's right now at University of Rhode Island, and that's where I realized it was actually called media literacy. I didn't even know it was called that. So since then, it's been a sequence of conferences, presenting and learning at different conferences. I had a chance to write a series of children's books on media literacy, and I teach it all the time. I'm a elementary school librarian, just to keep the library media specialist part short. But I teach it mainly through analyzing it, but I've turned my library into a production studio too, because I think that's a big part of being literate is, it's not just reading, it's producing it. So
yeah, reading, creating it,
yeah,
analyzing it.
Yeah.
So it seems like media literacy is a very, very broad category that
it
encompasses
is.
quite a lot of things.
Yeah. I'm of
One
a
of
mind
my oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm of a mind with some other people that it should just be called literacy, and just be added to your basic literacy, especially, most kids, I know my kids, and we were talking about it earlier, so much of what you're getting from information now is not just from reading books. It's from going on YouTube or doing streaming and that stuff. So, and the funny thing is, the media literacy people can't even agree on what it's called. Some people call it digital literacy, some call it media literacy, some call it critical media literacy. There's all sorts of little tribes, to use a MMA word.
Yeah, one thing I really love about YouTube is its ability to teach visually.
Yeah.
With instructions, and it's so easy to follow along. Like something as simple as changing a motorcycle tire, or anything you need to work on your car that's not incredibly labor intensive.
Yep.
Can be learned pretty much on YouTube. It's amazing. I remember, like, I have these Chilton manuals,
Yep,
like for my car, and I don't even look at them.
No.
I try to find the YouTube video of somebody addressing that issue first, and if I really, as a last resort, have to resort to the Chilton's manual, I will. But the YouTube videos make car repair or anything, building a computer, it makes it so easy to learn these things.
Oh yeah, same here. I use Adobe Premiere to do all my video production work and After Effects, and they, as part of your purchase, you have access to their database. But it's just much easier to go on and onto YouTube and look up, how do I create a sound visualizer? How do I create this kind of a transition?
Hmm.
So I've actually never used the resources that Adobe put together. It's
Yeah, I think the only time where it comes in handy is if you know how to do it, but you kind of forgot a little bit,
right,
and you
right.
don't want to like scrub through a video, and
Yeah,
you're like, okay, I forgot this step. Let me go look through this document and see which step I forgot. And it's pretty easy to find it that way.
yeah.
But that's about like the only usefulness if there is no video present to do that. It's a little quicker to refresh your memory with text rather than having to scrub through a video.
Or sometimes if I can't remember the term that it's called, I'll enter in some search terms that will lead me in the right direction, and then I can use those search terms and search YouTube for it. It's I've actually to do some of the knowledge bomb animation stuff. I hadn't done some for months, so I kind of forgot how to do it. So what I did was go to that original video I watched, and then had to just relearn some of the modifications I made to it. But yeah,
Yeah, I completely forgot that, and I had to reformat my computer, so I don't have my actual file that I could look at. So I'd have to do the whole thing over from scratch.
yep,
I lost like so much cool stuff. Like I had this whole little title sequence that I lost. So the only thing that I have is just that raw video. So I can't edit it anymore or make it cooler or put in some new text. I have
yeah.
to go through that whole little tutorial all over again from the start.
So everything is external drives. I have a couple of files, one on one external drive, another on another external drive, just to avoid that because yeah, it's too much time.
Yeah,
And learning how to do it, yeah, it becomes a rush of trying to produce this stuff, and that's what I get with students too. It becomes a rush of trying to produce it, and um, sometimes you lose sight of the original intent.
yeah. So I want to know too, because this is something I did with one of my other jobs, is that I get a lot of people calling in who get scammed by various different email scams and things
Yeah,
of that nature. Does this kind of fall into media literacy?
I make it fall into it. Yeah, I sadly we changed our email at work because I had a great fake email. And I would show it to the kids. You know, it was I forget the guy's name, and I wish I had it still. A philanthropist, a Canadian philanthropist who made millions with some .com thing, had selected me to give me $1.2 million. He was reaching out to educators to do this, and because I'm skeptical about everything, and actually not 95 years old, I I I hesitated before I opened it, and then I opened it and um, took the names and did the research so that I could have it all ready to show the kids. And then I would theatrically, I'd announce that I was quitting because I got $1.2 million, and they'd all go, "Holy cow!" And we would look at it, and they'd see the whole thing. And I have two doors, so I would come in the other door, and then we'd break it down. And it's really useful, those types of things. So if you have any, send it my way, because this one was really good. They put just enough true information in there to
Hmm.
where I could see other teachers falling for it. You know, that it was a real person. It wasn't somebody in Kenya. This
Hmm.
person really was giving money away, but to educational foundations, not singular educators. Uh,
Hmm.
so for me, that was a great media literacy lesson because it played to everything. You know, and I tell the kids, I won't lie. My pulse began to race when I first looked at it, and I knew when I first looked at it that it was fake. Um, and then I lead them through the verification process. Um, so yeah, those are I think those are overlooked a lot um, by the academic people who are doing it. I think they missed the boat on that one, but I would agree that that's a great one.
Yeah, because I work at Amazon, so Uh, Scammers often use Amazon gift cards as a way to scam people out of
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So I often talk to these people who get scammed out of money with Amazon gift cards.
Yep.
People also get their accounts compromised by clicking on bad emails.
Mhm.
So I do have to educate them on a little bit about that, about you do have to mind where this email is actually coming from.
Right.
And
Right.
we would never ask you to enter your account details anywhere other than Amazon.com. And, very, very basic things. But yeah, a lot of times people do come and call and say, yeah, I don't know my password and someone's changed the email on my account.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
It's often surprising, like how, I'm in my 40s. So my wife's aunt is in her 50s, and I don't think of her as terribly old, but I don't think of her as old at all. But she fell for one of those. They contacted her about her computer. She wanted paying $500 for them to do a scan that I could have done in about a half hour. And, it's surprising who will fall for that stuff. I don't know. I don't know that any young, 20s and younger would fall for it.
no, not for the computer hack stuff.
No.
Like it's like you just close the browser, or close the
Right.
window. That's all you do,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. Oh no. I got, I won't
Oh
say that I
no, somebody is telling me that I've been hacked.
right.
It's like
There's a really poorly designed web page with a really high pitched squeal saying I've been hacked. Click here. Maybe I should stop for a second and not do that. Yeah.
yeah, that's something I do have to deal with at work at least once or twice a week. Often the email addresses they get changed to are either Chinese or Russian.
Yep.
It's pretty obvious. I just check the domain names and, oh, it's a Chinese domain name here. Oh, it's a Russian domain name here. So it's typically from those two countries that these scams for compromising accounts originate from.
Right. Well, that's another aspect of it too, showing them how domains work. I'm sure you've gotten emails from uh, accounts at PayPal, and then there's some other suffix attached to it, to where someone who's just scrolling through and not thinking of it is going to click on that because it looks like PayPal's address, but it's they're very clever at disguising it. So I try to use any chance I can to show kids and whoever is interested in that kind of thing, like, hey, just take a second, don't just react to things, and take a look.
Yeah, because I do end up doing giving out these mini lessons quite a bit whenever it happens, and I usually tell them to be safe. Like, I would entirely go to every single account you have and update your security settings.
Right.
I let them know about two-factor verification. A lot of different sites support it, and it's pretty much one of the most secure ways that you can secure accounts, because it's it's not impossible, but it is very difficult for a hacker to hijack your phone,
right,
and intercept well, they can do it, but it's not easy to associate that cell phone with an account, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. I'm looking. I looked it up just because I knew I had some handy. PayPal@service.com. Restatement update. Fraud access. Your PayPal account has been limited. But so much of what it boils down to is not looking past PayPal. So if you've got a PayPal account, most people are going to click it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
At service part. So yeah, I knew I'd be able to find one of those pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then there's just the other scams that someone's messaging app gets hacked, and then they send out pleas for help to friends lists on that app.
Yep.
And they tell them that they're stuck in Africa and they need Amazon gift cards to get them out of a jam.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense because there's no operational storefront in Africa for Amazon.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So whenever this does happen, I'm like, well, I'll just break it down a little for you. You'll, because I don't outright tell them that they've been scammed. Because sometimes I caught one that was really lucky. This lady was like, oh, I sent the gift card over and the gift card code's not working. And then I got more of the story. I was like, it sounds super fishy. I told her, here's what you'll need to do. The friend that contacted you, please ask her for some information that only you would know about her.
Right.
That if she can't confirm that I believe that person is not acting in goodwill. It's probably somebody that is impersonating your friend. Because the request that she's asking for makes no sense.
Do you know Houdini? His plan with his wife after he died?
No, I don't.
So Amazing Randy and that type of.
I think he's been on Rogan, right? Or at least they've talked about him on Rogan.
I don't know if he's been on. He may. I wouldn't be shocked if he's been on Rogan, but he's a big debunker. He would go on and I forget the guys, but you'd have the guys who would bend the fork, and he would show how they.
Oh, yes.
Do it. And so the debunker. What did I start the Amazing Randy with? I forgot. I lost my train of thought. You were talking about.
Well, was he the one that debunked the? There was like this holy roller that was conducting, tabernacle revivals, and he was he had his wife in his ear, telling him information about guests. So
I don't
think
that was Amazing Randy. I did see something on Penn and Teller's bullshit for that one. Oh yeah. So
Amazing Randy, was he a debunker?
Amazing Randy did. He actually got one of getting sued because Carson on the Tonight Show used to have. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but he'd have the guy who would use his mental powers to bend forks. And
then Carson put him to the test. And
Carson
didn't go very well.
Through the ringer and brought Randy out. And so you'll see him also talking. He debunks a lot of psychics and stuff. But
I think he also debunked that guy that I was speaking about. That was he was fleecing people in the name of God.
Well, that narrows it down. That narrows it down to thousands. So what made me think of that was the secret word. So Houdini was a big debunker too, and in the 1920s, the psychic craze really took off in America and England. And he had worked out a plan with his wife that if either one of them died, they would have a secret word. And that would be what you would use to debunk any psychics that tried to get in touch with him. And of course, it didn't.
So you'd ask them, what's the secret word? And none of them knew.
Right, basically. None of them knew. So it's like you telling this woman the secret word. But that's another part of it. I wish I could remember. It was some podcast I was listening to, and there was recently even something every 25 years or something like that. They do another seance to try to prove that they can talk, or to just show that they can't talk to Houdini. And there was another one that just happened. I'll try to find that and send it to you. But that's another part of it, because people are so credulous about things that you don't even need the the convincing emails or the convincing websites. My own, I won't say my wife did it, but it was my wife. She was listening to the radio, and they had a psychic on the radio, and she's fairly skeptical, but she came home saying, I can't, there's got to be something to it, and like, What? No, and she worked in the news too, so you'd figure these folks know better, and they don't. It's a kind of at times the whole media literacy struggle makes me put my head in my hands because I don't know if I'm just beating my head against a wall.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, that reminds me because this is something I did was when I was younger, and I did it just once, and it was pretty malicious. Not malicious as in very deceptive and not cool. So there, I don't know. It was like some type of website where if you had a crush on a girl, you could send them an email that's kind of like a survey, and then it would send you the results.
Okay.
So you'd ask like personal questions in the survey, and at the end when it's finished, it would send me the results of the survey to find out if the girl likes me or whatever. But unfortunately, when you complete it, it tells you that it's being sent to somebody. So it wasn't that deceptive. So I did get found out about it. She was upset, but not that upset.
Right.
Because they weren't like super personal. They were basically asking like, who do you like? Who do you have a crush on and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's pretty funny though.
Yeah, I kind of love everything about that. But you'll so that's not too terribly off. The latest one with me was Momo. Are you familiar with Momo?
Yeah, the video for kids or whatever.
So because we live in a world of people who like to react to things, there were emails sent out about, oh, parents, here's, somebody brought this up at school, and we don't want to frighten anybody. And so I use that as discussions, with even second grade up. Like, look, this is a dumb hoax, and the news is doing a disservice to everybody by even covering it. And I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to add to it. But you guys all need to know that this is how it works. When the news is covering something as a news event that's not a news event, that doesn't mean that it's something to really give credibility to,
Yeah, well, that actually did have an effect in my life, the whole Momo thing. My wife's a teacher.
Okay.
So I'm now not allowed to show my daughter YouTube because of that.
What level does she teach?
What is this Momo thing? I've never heard of it.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, what's up?
You haven't missed anything. It's so is it a manga? It started.
Well, it was like because I guess there was a man who created a doll.
Right.
And it was just basically a doll he created. It has nothing to do with the actual creator itself. Like the hoax has nothing to do with the guy.
No, it's just a character.
Yeah, and the guy basically discontinued that because of this whole thing. He doesn't make those or sell those dolls anymore.
Yeah, so the story was, I forget the cartoon, but the story was kids would go on YouTube and there would be somewhere within the video this character would come up
the
and
Momo
challenge kids to various things, and it would culminate in challenging them to kill themselves.
Whoa.
But it never happened.
Oh.
It was completely it was a hoax. Like but
a lot of those
reporting of it, and this is why I left the news. In the reporting of it, they lent it a gravity that it didn't warrant. So they were actually, and this happened when I'm old, so I was working when Clinton was going through his thing, and the Secretary of Agriculture or something was visiting locally, and they sent me out as part of a team to ask how that was affecting his job, having Clinton going through his scandal. And Like, it's not. The only way it's affecting it is by having us going and asking the question. This is, you're self-perpetuating stupidity here, and that's what Momo is just the latest in that. There were no instances of it, but it's easy to scare people. Once you get people scared, that's it.
Well, is there a Snopes article for Momo? Because maybe I need to send my wife that article.
I'll check right now as I'm sitting.
Like, speaking of media literacy, do you think Snopes is pretty important?
I use it all the time. Yeah, and there are some other ones. I can't think of the names of them right now, but yeah, something like that questions, but even that you'll see depending on the on what you're already thinking. There was when Trump first got elected, there was a lot of people pointed to Snopes as having a liberal bent or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but
oh, I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, well, because they'll attack anything. It's so easy to frame things in a way that causes doubt.
Yeah.
That even things like Snope, which do, in my view, a pretty darn good job of it. It's funny. People are so quick to believe what, and this is MMA stuff all over the place. What they're kind of already going to believe, whatever reinforces. I forget.
Oh yeah, they're preconceptions.
Yeah, they'll believe that against all logic. But if something goes towards shoring up something that they don't believe, they'll believe that too. So they're credulous whenever they need to feel better.
Yeah.
So Snopes, someone will find a problem with Snopes. I wish I could remember the names of the other ones, but yeah, I will send you a link when I can find one.
Yeah, one of the things my wife does is use me as a debunking machine. So, so usually if she gets past some article, she's like, "Is this true?" And then basically that's my cue for research and finding out if it's true or not. A lot of it's like bogus medical stuff. A lot of it's like it's like I can't believe this, but the chain letter kind of still exists on Facebook. That's something I gotta debunk all the time. It's like, okay, there's no link here to anything. It's just some random story. So I could find out about it, and then I'll find like the Snopes article debunking the story. But yeah, it's still people still fall for this stuff.
People just buy the original article.
But some of these things, there are no articles that exist, but people will still believe them.
Yeah.
It'll just be a story. It's like, oh, I heard this story. It's like maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs long, and it has like some kind of crazy thing about, oh, he found like a thumbtack in his Cheerios or something like that. Right. It's like, be careful when you eat Cheerios.
Right. And it doesn't matter how much. This is all stuff that's been covered on the podcast. So it's just how much the proof you offer to refute it will not win out over what people want to believe. It's crazy. Because of the age group I deal with, there's a lot of like Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, and there are the shows Finding Bigfoot, and you can show them where the originator of the Loch Ness hoax admitted to it. It will not change their mind. I just put a link for the tree octopuses, which is a quick one that I put up for them when we're talking about evaluating websites. And you'd recognize it as immediately. Just even the look of it looks like something from 1996 or something like that. But they buy it. They completely believe it until I tell them it's
it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's hard to deal with.
Right, and a lot of the talk in the media literacy world, in the academic world, is we're dealing with digital natives. These kids are they've never known a non-digital world, and they're so savvy and they can use the devices so well. It's like, okay, anybody looking at have you looked at this Tree Octopus site?
I'm looking at it right now.
Tree octopus? What's
Anybody?
that?
I put the link in the
Pacific Northwest tree octopus.
Well, when you look at it, it looks like a I forget, is it Homestead or an Angel Fire site? It's
Angel Fire? That old?
it does not. It's, you know, it has working links, but it is, the background's a kooky, blurry background. Everything about it screams internet in
1990.
2000.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was in elementary school and what the internet was like.
So, internet circa 1992.
Right, like, yeah. Homestead, was that the one? Homestead 2? I forget.
It was GeoCities.
Thing I had to do. GeoCities, yes. I believe it. And so I don't know. I continue to do it because my hope is always like, all right, I know I'm not going to get everybody, but if I can just get 3 or 4 kids a year to not be suckers, that'll be great. I realized a long time ago. I'll put up a Snopes link too. So it was on Facebook, and someone put the Fukushima radioactive water leak chart. Have you ever seen that?
No.
What was it?
It's the Fukushima. Well, what it's put out as is the Fukushima radioactive water leak map, and it's a NOAA map, and it's got the color codes really lend itself.
You mean the one that's like, it's hitting the west coast of the United States?
Right. Yeah. So a lot of this particular site that was putting it out there was looking for clicks, and it was some guy in Canada who was a white supremacist, and the way he'd make money was posting this scare stuff. And all I did was point it out. You know, it was not confrontational at all. Just, hey, just so you know, this guy's a white supremacist who's funding his movement through putting out fake information. This is actually I think it was a wave height chart. And the response I got was just withering. So I just, I'm not looking to fight, but the response was along the lines of like, what are you, a one world person wants to control population, and and then this was a contemporary. This was a guy in a band around here who's the same age as me. That's when I was like, wow. Sometimes people just don't want to know. They don't want to be shaken out of that tree.
So this stems into things like, Alex Jones type conspiracies and the kind of
someone who believes a lot of those. It's hard to convince him otherwise.
Who does?
Someone I know and I hang out with all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
It's
really hard to convince him otherwise.
Yeah, there's no point. I try to do the I've only briefly looked at it. Reed does that street epistemology.
Yeah,
where you're asking the questions instead of offering. But I have a friend like that too, who's just, you can lead them down the path, and then you can even get them to have a moment of light shining into their brain, and then the next time you see them, they're right back into it.
Yeah,
like no, this guy's.
I used to be totally in the Alex Jones camp, man. I used to believe in FEMA death camps and all that other BS.
Well, he's so. Like years ago, I would share them with friends because I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, he is funny.
Sharing him with friends because some of the friends would get it, some of the friends would be disgusted, and then some of the friends would believe it too. And I'm like,
oh. I was in my early 20s, and this is like post 9/11.
Yep.
So it's like there's this kind of big freak out, and everyone's trying to get answers. Yeah, so I kind of fell into that because of the whole zeitgeist of the situation.
Yeah, so I'm roughly 10 years older than you, so I'd already worked in news for long enough to have spoken to a lot of these politicians and knew without a shadow of a doubt, like they can't put this together. They're a bunch of dummies for the most part. There might be some shadow government we don't know about. So I can't watch shows like House of Cards where they're super calculating, hyper intelligent people. Like, no,
It's fiction, though.
just not the case. Well, it's complete fiction. Yeah, I can't buy. I will watch Hobbits and believe in the Nazgul. I will not watch something where they portray journalists or politicians as very intelligent people. I know that's bigoted of me, but
So you're like in that also stems to like the Scott Adams version of Trump.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Trump has a master plan. I don't know if you knew that.
oh, the is that the Dilbert guy?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I watched him for a little while. He was fun to watch, but I like to watch it to take it apart. Like holy cow! Because in the back of my mind, I keep thinking one day maybe I could make $1 million by perpetrating this kind of stuff on people.
I saw him recently explaining why it was actually a good idea for Trump to say after that New Zealand shooting where he was asked if right-wing violence is an issue. He said no, it's not a small problem. He was explaining why that was a strategically good decision to make.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, when I'm talking to students and adults, I'll bring up all this stuff, and I kind of avoid Trump because I'm dealing with a bunch of 10-year-olds who just immediately freak out.
Yeah.
We talk about flat earthers, and
They're just like Trump.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, they tend to react a little more maturely sometimes, but the whole flat Earth thing, or a couple of years ago before Momo was Scary Clowns. And
yeah, I remember that.
they go nuts for it. And so I'm like, okay, everybody, just chat for 10 minutes. And I take 2 kids, and I would I have an office that I made into a production studio. So like, okay, go take his picture in front of the green screen. Come back. We're gonna run it through, and I'd have a commentary going so they wouldn't go crazy the rest of the class. And within 2 minutes, I could make a pretty decent newspaper cover where it looked like one of them was on Mars, just to show how easy. So hopefully, I don't know, 2 or 3 out of that 100 that year would walk away with some kind of knowledge of like, hey, this is easy to do. It's fun to do.
What is going on?
Hey, Isaiah, how's it going?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
Or should I say Jenkins? That's
Either
the
way.
real question.
Doesn't matter.
I like your mustache, Isaiah. It makes you look like a porn star.
I am a porn star.
Okay.
Are there porn stars anymore?
Well, I think there's stars and there's journeyman.
Yeah. But the mustache is definitely a star. Yeah, that's star quality.
Star quality mustache. If only my dick was big enough to be in porn, I would be a porn star. So, ostensibly, this is a media literacy chat, is it not?
Yes.
What have we covered thus far?
Well, we covered. Oh, damn! What's with the mustache there?
What, are you jealous?
A little bit. I can't really grow a good mustache, but anyway, we covered some real basic stuff like email scams, just basically how people get duped. I think we did cover like some old school Houdini style things, and what was the other guy? Amazing Randy.
Amazing Randy, yeah.
And I just talked about how I work at Amazon. People get duped all the time, whether it's compromised accounts or somebody stuck in Africa needing an Amazon gift card for some reason, even though there is no Amazon storefront in that country. So just different things. We're lightly touching on Snopes and chain letter hoaxes, how to disconfirm specific hoaxes and things like that. And right now, I guess we're on kind of conspiracy theories. That's kind of what we're talking about now.
I mean, when I think about media literacy, that's not necessarily where my mind goes immediately.
No.
Yeah, I think we talked about it as it being a very broad topic.
Very broad. I feel like for most people, conspiracy theories, scams, etc., are like irrelevant in many ways.
Well, I wouldn't say that because I deal with this crap weekly.
Well, you deal with customer service in that realm. So
Yeah.
like you have a specific bias in your thought processes regarding how people deal with the internet. You deal with only people who have problems. Most people don't have
much.
problems. The problems that most people have are concerning like looking at stuff on the internet and understanding what is stuff you should believe and what is stuff that you should not believe. While that has a lot to do with scams and hoaxes and conspiracy theories, I feel like the majority of people are not susceptible to scams, conspiracy theories, or hoaxes.
Well, the majority of people our age, yeah, I would say that.
I would even say the majority of the people who are the main targets for scams, etc. Like, people aren't stupid.
Well, it depends. If they've been scammed once and they've learned, but so I'm guessing most of the people that get scammed, it's their first time.
Is there like a particular demographic of people that are targeted, or is it?
All I know is that the people I talk to that get caught up in this sound older than I am. That's all. That's the only thing I can tell you.
I think they cast a wide net. But see, for me, teaching kids with it's so the kids aren't really in danger of the scam as so much, but it's a great connection to make because they've all heard of things like flat Earth because of basketball players believing it and all that stuff. So it's a part of how I can like kind of hook them. So yeah, as far as like media literacy, it's not a major part of it, but it's a great hook to get people started thinking about it, you know?
Side note, I'm looking at FBI statistics right now, and the majority of fraud committed on the internet is through business accounts. Whether or not that's media literacy, who knows? And then oftentimes it's confidence fraud or romance, which is catfishing. Number 3 on the list is straight up fraud of non-payment or non-delivery. So these are very broad definitions that like I'm looking at FBI.gov crime statistics, which leads me into my next point of like how we talk about these things. Like, I don't really care so much about people who get scammed. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. There's laws in place for that. If you can prove fraud in a court, then you have recourse for that. You cannot prove whether or not Breitbart is a good news aggregate website, or whether or not I should or should not believe the shit that's published on Drudge, or whether or not Jacobin is, a reliable source of economic information. Like that's what I think of when I think of media literacy.
Yeah. So again, again, it's the hook part. Media literacy really, by and large at this point, is to create people who are skeptics, or not skeptics, but skeptical about how they're consuming media. but even within that world, there are people who just they have two different camps. You know, I'm part of the production. So by teaching kids how to produce media, you're empowering them and taking away the magic of it, you know? So if I'm a 10-year-old and I can make it look like I'm flying, I don't necessarily believe stuff right off the bat that I'm shown. Or if I'm a 10-year-old and I can produce a photo that's communicating power or weakness through a high angle or a low angle, that's giving me the power. There's a whole other camp in this that thinks that that's a waste of time, and the only way to do it is through presentation. And there's another camp that calls it.
I understand what Isaiah's saying. It's just we're kind of easing into that part.
Yeah.
Like, we're definitely going to talk about it.
Well, I think talking about conspiracy theories is a waste of fucking time, to be honest.
Not really.
Why?
Okay, we're not talking about the theories themselves. We're just talking about
how they proliferate.
Well, how they proliferate, how to combat that type of logic.
How easy it is, and you know, I don't even. Well, it would be a conspiracy theory type thing.
We're not talking about like, this is a cool conspiracy theory. It's
just how credulous people are. So, like certain ones where it's clickbait, those are not business. I have peers who fall for that kind of stuff. But for me, again, those are fun in a dopey way, but it's about just giving a real life example of like, look, this is simple to make. You can frame something to make people feel something really easily with an hour of research into how to compose a photograph or how to use sound in a video. And the danger becomes what you're talking about, Isaiah, which is it veers off, and that's all we're talking about is the conspiracy stuff. But it's a good entry into it for people who don't kind of think about how information is produced, you know?
If you're going from an argument from the absurd, then I would agree with that. Yeah, that is good entry into it. Like, I'm coming in the middle of this conversation, so I'm just giving my opinions regarding like what I thought this conversation was going to be about.
And it's going to be partially about that. We're just trying to cover kind of different topics under the umbrella, just so, people can know that, okay, media literacy is more than just debunking a bias in an article. It's a very broad, overreaching type of subject. So I know, me personally, that's what I mainly want to talk about as well. But I'm just kind of just covering little bases here and there of what it all encompasses.
Fucking stupid.
But anyway.
Oh, I just got charged $7 for not using Lyft when I ordered it for another person. I fucking hate Lyft, but that's an argument for another day.
Yeah, I don't use Lyft anymore. They charge more.
I don't use Lyft or Uber or taxis, but that's an argument for another day.
I do occasionally because I have to. Well, I don't have to. I just don't want to have to take. Well, I don't mind taking a bus because I get to read. Sometimes I need to get somewhere faster than that, so I'll take Uber. But I guess we can go on to the topic of what are the resources available to us to discern the credibility of these media outlets. And just great because, damn it, my server went down. So I think this chat, unless I can get the server up and running immediately, we might have to migrate. But
it still says live on the thing, and let me check the YouTube.
It'll say live for a while, unless I can get the server back up. So I'm gonna work on getting that server back up. But yeah, we can go ahead and start talking about the resources available to us to figure out what media sources are credible.
It's still running.
Yeah, I'll be running for a few minutes. Unless I can get this popping off again.
Actually, I think it just dropped.
Did it? Let me check the server.
Oh no, it's still live. Sorry.
Still says live for me. But you get kicked off your server a lot though, right, Dusty?
Yeah, actually, I brought my laptop to work today to see if that would make any difference. I guess not.
Oh, so it's your server.
Yeah, it's this connection here at my work. So what I'm going to do in the future, I'm just going to remote in from my home. Like I'm going to set a server up at home and remote in from an Android device next time.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that. That's cool.
There's a lot of things.
You probably can. I just haven't researched it yet. I don't know if that's a certainty, but I'm guessing it's. So here's what we're going to do. Isaiah, do you know how to run these things?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and create a new room, and then send us all the link if possible. So what we have to do is
it's still running.
It's gonna drop though. It will. This is like I've encountered this a bunch of times.
Yeah.
If I can't get the room back up in like within 5 minutes, it will just drop the room.
Okay. I'll pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
Stand by.
So what you'll need to do is create one, and before you start the hangout, let us know because we all got to drop out of this, else you're gonna have trouble.
Stand by.
Yeah, no problem.
I might be able to pick it up from my line, and not even worry about having to restart.
Yeah, maybe it'll allow you to migrate the server.
I didn't know you could do that either.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it'll work, but it might be possible. Let me know if it recognizes you as a server. That'd be cool.
What's the ETA on the drop time?
It's usually within 5 minutes.
Live events. All right, we're still on air.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're gonna be on air for a little while.
Yeah, I just clicked it and hit resume on air. And
okay. So are you on the? Did you become the server?
I should be.
All right, great. Then we can proceed as normal then.
Okay.
Right. So
if and when it drops, we can always drop it again or re-up.
Yeah.
So
so next week I'm gonna do research on remote access to my computer from home, so I don't have to worry about this crap.
Yeah.
So you were about to get into how to have better media literacy, basically.
In regards to consuming news media.
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly tools. Like if we're trying to educate the populace or people that might be interested, what are some of the tools that you guys use if you're unsure about a media source?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so I just I'll just do a search and look for credible sources. And if usually if I can't find one within a couple of minutes, it doesn't really take very long. If you think something is fake, what I tell the kids to is just type in hoax after it or scam after it. But a basic search